Good evening, everybody. It's the Cryptid Huntress. I'm Jessica Jones. Welcome into On the Hunt tonight. Gosh, do we have an interesting show for y'all tonight. We are going to be diving into strange and mysterious deaths at state and national parks, particularly the land between the lakes tonight. And these are documented deaths. And I do have our good friend Mark Machek, aka Cryptidville, here in the studio with us once again. Y'all remember last time he came on, we talked about mysterious hunters' deaths and disappearances in national parks. And tonight we're getting into everyday citizens, particularly teenagers and girls, children, and maybe even some more hunters too. Okay, people in the military. Lots of mysterious deaths have gone on at the land between the lakes. And Mark has some really interesting information for us tonight. And he's been really diving in to some of these cases, at least one of them pretty well. Okay. So we're going to get into that and other stuff tonight. There's no telling where we're going tonight. Okay. So I hope you guys are all ready to go and buckled up, buttercups. And thank y'all so much again for being here. Thank you to all my moderators in the chat tonight. We do have the best chat on the internet. Okay. On YouTube for sure. And so I just thank each and every one of y'all for being here. If you guys would like to follow along with all of my shows, if you'd like to catch up on the latest with the Cryptid Huntress, please go over to my website. It's thecryptidhuntress.com. You can find all of my social media links there. And also you can find a link to my Patreon as well. Thank you to all my Patreon members. I just released a new design. It looks like the national parks logo kind of, but I kind of switched it up a little bit to say the Cryptid Huntress. My VIP members of my Patreon are getting stickers and magnets with that new design on it this month for your gift. Okay, my VIP members do get gifts every month. So if you guys would like to support my work and everything, y'all become a member too of the Cryptid Huntress over on Patreon. Thank you guys so much for all your support. And to all of my channel members too here on YouTube, thank y'all so much for being a part of the Hunt Club. And I do have a Etsy shop. It's called War Woman Goods. You can find some goods there. Okay, if you go check it out. And I thank y'all for that very much. I do also have a bunch of events coming up. Y'all go check those out on my website. And you can find it there. I have UFO conferences and the Super Soldier Activation Conference coming up all in the next 2 months. Okay, so, all right. Oh, and the Molina Bigfoot Festival as well. That's in November. So y'all come see me at that too. Okay, let's get to our show tonight. Okay, because we have much to discuss. And yes, I saw somebody left a comment. They're like, please don't scare us too much tonight. Okay, I'm going to try not to. I do like to keep it spicy for y'all on Saturday night. So, okay, I do. We can get a little spooky over here. And when we're talking about mysterious deaths that occur in places like the LBL, I can't guarantee it's not going to be scary tonight. Okay. Okay, here we go. So we are going on the hunt tonight in our state and national parks across America, particularly the LBL, to explore cases of people who were found dead under mysterious circumstances, some with military involvement, local government cover-ups, and the potential Dogman, Bigfoot, and backwoods cult connections. We're making these connections. We're going to be connecting the dots, again, like we always do, with longtime Kentucky resident Mark Machek, aka Cryptidville. He is a hunter. He is a field investigator, a field researcher when it comes to all things cryptids. He's had plenty of experiences with Bigfoot and Dogman. And y'all know Mark. He's been here plenty of times. And I'm super, super blessed and happy to have him here again with us tonight. Please help me welcome to the show Cryptidville, aka Mark Machek.
Good evening, Jessica. Thank you for having me back on.
Well, of course, you are one of my favorite all my co-hosts are my favorite. Okay, so I love having you here, especially on a Saturday night. Boy, we get into some deep conversations, don't we?
Oh yeah. And
Yeah.
I just want to thank everybody in the chat for greeting us at the beginning of the show. Um, yeah, it shows that I'm there. I'm only in there for the purpose of making sure that we are going live. So, but yeah, I just want to shout out to everybody in the chat and thank you all for being here. And hopefully, we can give you some good information tonight that will uh, shed some light on some truths and maybe expose some falsehoods or some
Oh,
things that
yes.
are not necessarily true.
Oh man, I think that's what we do best. Actually, that's why I've really embraced the controversy of our conversations. Honestly, and I really appreciate it. And that's basically that's why I do this, to get to the bottom of things, get to the truth behind the mysteries of the world. And of course, my angle is cryptids. Okay, and the field research. You and I have both been out there. You've been doing this longer than I have, really, going out in the field and having connections with Bigfoot. I've been doing it since 2011, and I've been all over the place. I've seen all sorts of weird stuff. Okay, but I have not yet been to the LBL, and that's a hot spot for activity. And some of the more famous, the more well-known cases of cryptid-related deaths or alleged cryptid-related deaths have occurred at the LBL, Mark. So,
Well, alleged. That's a big word, and it is so because of the simple fact that for some reason it appears that there are podcasters or storytellers uh, who choose to put information out there that may or may not be accurate, and they tell these grandiose stories, and that's fine, but they have little substance to back those stories up. So everything that you hear from me tonight will be as it was reported. There's not going to be any adding or taking away or fabrication involved in it. But even without doing that, the cases are still interesting. Even though we can't say for a fact that, hey, this is 100% related to a cryptid or something else that's not normal.
mhm. Yes. Well, I have been contacted plenty of times by people who have suggested or asked that I look into cases of alleged or suspected cryptid attacks through remote viewing. Okay, and I have been tasked. I have a full team of remote viewers. I got some guys and probably some ladies on my teams that are watching the show tonight. Shout out to I know Keith's watching. Got to give a shout out to Keith tonight. But we are all trained in remote viewing, and we oftentimes have gotten targets, blind targets, where we're just given coordinates, and a lot of times they have involved cases of alleged attacks on people by Dogman and Bigfoot. And I've got to tell you, sometimes they are. I do believe they were. If from this is from just remote viewing data. Okay, you can take it or leave it. It's remote viewing data.
Sure.
Sometimes I do believe that people were attacked by something like a werewolf or a Dogman. Other
Yeah.
times, I think they were attacked by big cats. Okay, when it comes down to stuff like alleged cryptid attacks. So I don't think it's always cryptids.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that, and I don't want to disillusion anyone by saying that, well, Bigfoot or Dogman will not or won't harm you, or that they don't harm people. Um, to go into that vein of thought would be irresponsible, uh, because it is a wild creature, whatever it is, that's living on the land and has animalistic traits, and it would be foolish to think that it wouldn't respond like any wild animal. I mean, you take a raccoon, if you corner a raccoon and you piss it off, it's going to tear you up.
Yes. Squirrels too.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Squirrels could do that. any any kind of little listen, a chihuahua is way more fierce than a lot of big dogs. Okay. Little animals can tear you up if they want. Or at least they think they can.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
So, with that, I'm not going to say that it's not possible that some of these events did not happen. But, um, you know, and I see this every day. I need to just go ahead and I hate to unsubscribe people, but when I look at this one particular channel, every day it's like person mauled, person unalived,
Yeah.
person attacked.
That's a lot, isn't it? It is.
Yeah,
365. That's a lot. I mean, if you add up the numbers on that, that's a lot of people. I mean, but could it be possible that our government, our military, our secret agencies out there, super soldier programs are going out there and covering all this up on a daily basis? I mean, what do you
that,
think?
that's possible, but you have to look at the the frequency of those types of events. I don't think that those types of events are happening as frequent as they're being portrayed. You know, to me, it doesn't add up. Because if you look at the number of videos or reports where people come out and say, "Oh, well, so and so was harmed by this cryptid," uh, there wouldn't there wouldn't be anybody alive here.
I know,
Everybody
right?
would be everybody be laid up in the hospital, licking their wounds from being attacked by a cryptid.
I mean,
And
and especially if they're all being said to happen in like national parks and state parks and stuff. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think we would hear more. I personally think we'd hear more about it from the I'm not saying the news would cover it, but people's families would be coming out and stuff and making us stink about it. I know if something were to happen to my family, let's just say like my immediate family, I'd be going all over the place, talking to news. I'd be calling up the news channels myself and being like, hey, y'all need to cover this.
oh yeah,
Help me find my child or help me find my, sibling or whatever. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know. It is excessive, I think. I agree with you. I agree with you. It makes you wonder, like, where are all
but
these stories coming from?
yeah, but along with that, I'm not gonna say that there have not been events that have happened that are like that. And I see Don's comment here. Um, I've lived in this area for 25 years. I've spent a lot of time in the LBL by myself with people. I have never heard that story that Don's referencing. Not saying it's not real, not saying it's not true, just I've never heard that. Um, and it's kind of interesting. I will say that, but you know, I'm more of a when it comes to this research, I'm more of a show me some documentation or show me the receipts. I mean, and I understand, because I've dealt with this so long in this area. I understand how things are, how things go. Things get buried, things get hidden,
Yes.
and it does happen. But I don't think it's as frequent as some would have you believe. And then there's the factor of, and you don't hear people talk about this very much. You have to look at you have to weigh the credibility of the source. I never will understand this, and I remember back in my early days of research when I first started, there was a gentleman from New York who ingrained in me something that is very important, and that's the concept of credibility. If you do or say anything to destroy your credibility, it's gone. You can't get it back.
Oh man, yeah. Yeah. That's
So
very true. That's
that's
very true.
that's why I am so adamant about, being as truthful as I can be. Now, granted, there may be things that I might not talk about, but if I talk about it, I'm going to tell you the truth on it. So, having said that, I like to look at people,
Mhm.
um, or let me rephrase that. I'm not so much involved with a lot of people here lately in the last 5 to 10 years, but in the past I have. Um, let's just say I look into the people that I deal with, um, because I've just ran into some really suspect individuals, and uh, there's a lot of things that just don't add up, and that's not me. That's not my doing. That's the individual that I'm looking into's doing. So those are things that I take into consideration when considering a source of information. So
Yeah. Well, um, well, like Don says too, some channels are total fictional stories, which is noted in the comments below in the video. And yes, there are those channels too. But there's also some that claim to be true stories. There's a lot. Okay. But I don't know. I don't subscribe. Listen, I don't have time to watch all the channels and stuff, so I don't know. But I do have people that send me links to shows sometimes and stuff, and so yes, when I was doing some research, when my buddy Nick Sylvester had me watching some channels and stuff because of the Dogman breeding programs and stuff like that, and so I was doing some research, and I did see some excessive stuff, kind of a little bit, and I thought, man, this is wild, And then of course, then I have the opposite. So like Vic Cundiff came on my show, and Vic's like, this stuff's not all real and people are making stories, that kind of stuff. He's not saying a Dogman story is not real, but some things are embellished, right? Embellished,
yeah,
I guess, is what he was saying.
oh
And
yeah, and
yeah, a lot of
not
embellishments.
yeah, and I take it a little
Yeah.
bit. I take it a little bit further with you know the information that people release to others. I look at that as a weight of character. Um,
Yeah.
because if somebody's going to tell somebody else about something and they're not going to be truthful about it, it kind of makes you wonder why they're doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. It does. It does. It does. Well, and that's where with me being a field researcher, like I don't lie about stuff. And if I don't know the truth about something, I don't know something, I'll be honest. I'm like, I don't know. I
Oh
don't know
yeah,
nothing about nothing. Okay. And I've, what I've experienced and things that I share with the public, this is what I share with the public, is so wild. It sounds like it's not real, probably to some people. I remember when I first went public, and I was talking about some things on some. I was being interviewed, and there were people in the comments like, "There's no way she's telling the truth. This doesn't happen to people." I was like, "Well, it is, And I don't, when you have things that happen to you, I've never my stories have never changed. Okay, because I remember them like it was yesterday.
oh yeah,
Everything that's ever happened to me, right? And you can go back for years. I challenge anyone to go watch interviews with me. I've never changed a story because I just tell the truth. Okay, and it's what I experienced. And but nonetheless, there's you just got to go with your gut too when you're
oh
listening to
yeah,
people's stories and stuff like that as well. And being an investigator and taking reports from people too. Mark, when I took that report with that state park ranger, and state park rangers, you should, of course, like I'm not saying that I didn't feel like I could trust a state park ranger, right? But when it comes down to some of the reports that I was given by a state park ranger, it was so wild that I had to do a FaceTime with him to make sure I feel like, so I could see if he was telling me the truth. You know, I'm even suspicious of park rangers,
well,
or I
you
was
have
at the time.
yeah, you have to be, because you don't know if at some point they're being instructed to give you not valid information.
Thank
And
you.
and I'm sure that that does happen, because you know I mean, if you've got a rogue cryptid, whatever it may be, running around a national park or a park area, you know, it may be acceptable for a lower level employee to talk about that, but somebody that's up in the management level might look at that as a negative aspect that could affect a lot of things. So it makes sense that they may get the boot on with the information that they're
Yeah.
told they could talk about and release. And yeah,
Yes.
it's
Well, we
definitely interesting.
Well, we all know that story. We've talked about that before, where I got called in on a Bigfoot related death, and then what we were told by the ranger, and shout out to him, he had a very nice fella. I believe he was telling us the truth. Okay, but somewhere down the line, when we talked with the coroner, the story had changed. Okay, completely different story with the coroner, and so there's something funny going on there, and I'm just gonna put it that way. And I've talked to other investigators, and I had a really great conversation with Mark Green, who came on the show. Shout out to Mark Green, by the way, and he said that there were some discrepancies in some of the stories as well that happened, or some of the encounters and some deaths that happened around the Talladega National Forest area, um, as well, where people believe that some of the people had died by cryptid related deaths, but they were all ruled as drug overdoses, just like the one in my state park.
Yeah, that seems to be a commonality, actually.
Yeah.
If it's something that they're trying to bury, it
Hmm.
seems like the quickest go to, they'll say, oh, well, it was just a drug overdose.
Yeah.
Actually, when I was investigating the incident with the bow hunter back in 2007, uh, my interactions with some people that were involved in the later investigation, they actually told me that the gentleman had died from a drug overdose, and it just does not. To me, it doesn't. It never lined up. It never lined up with what he did, or the location that he was found in. Um, so it just didn't. To me, it just didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yes. Well, we're we're connecting the dots for sure. And Kent Baxter, thank you so much for that super sticker. I love Saturday Night, my favorite show. Thank you so much, Kent. That's so sweet of you. I appreciate your support so much. Thank you for being here tonight. Um, yeah. Well, okay. Well, let's go back to the LBL. Okay, let's go back to the LBL. I've done a little bit of research myself, since I've talked to you about some of the mysterious deaths that have happened there, and it's not just deaths that people think that might have been related to a cryptid attack, but there's also been some weird, some mysterious circumstances under, like, even some teenage girls that died out there a while back. I mean, how many? I know, since you live out there, you would know, like, how many deaths have been recorded out there? Do you have any like a ballpark number?
I actually don't, and the reason why is because you know I I I was here. I moved here in '99, and at that time, yeah, I was doing some investigating and s- started looking at different things going on over there. But I never thought to start per se recording deaths and keeping a log of them or whatever. So it would be not accurate of me to give out a number, but I can assure you that's not anywhere near what the podcast world is saying that it is. It's like, to them, uh, it appears that somebody somebody is taken out every day,
Ah,
and
oh
that's
my
just
gosh,
not
I hope that
that's just
doesn't
not the
happen.
case. It's just not the case. It's not
Yeah.
it's not real.
Well, I hope not. I hope not. For humanity's sake, for sure. Well, okay. Well, let's talk about the Beast of LBL is the most famous story from out there. Uh, it seems to me there's potentially, if that really happened, which I believe it did. I mean, we've talked about that before. Um, it seems as though there's local government cover-ups going on out there, and I I hate to say that about I don't know if there's a cover up when it pertains to some of these other cases where it was clearly not cryptid related, like those two teenage girls. Would you like to talk about that tonight a little bit with the teenage girls that were found unalive there? I guess we would say back in the 1980s.
Sure. I mean, really and truly, I don't know a whole lot about the case, but I do know the general background of it. Um, and I did do some digging on it, like we were talking about before the show. And there's some interesting things that I came across that I don't think a lot of people have really paid attention to.
Okay. Well, let's talk about it a little bit. I'm going to pull it up on the screen. I'm going to share my screen right quick, and so if anyone's not familiar with this case, these are two teenage girls that were found with shotgun wounds to their heads. Correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. They just came out with a sketch. I don't know how long ago this was. This might have been a while. Oh, this is in 2015. This was 10 years ago. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigations released a sketch finally in the case of these two girls that were slayed in the LBL. It says that in September 17th of 1980, Carla Atkins and Vicky Stout left their home in Dover, Stewart County to walk 1 mile to the store. They were last seen around 3:30 in the afternoon when they were walking back home on State Route 79. Witnesses reported seeing a blue truck in the area and reported seeing Carla and Vicky approaching the truck and its driver. Authorities found their bodies 3 weeks later by hikers in what is now known as the Land Between the Lakes recreation area. They weren't even in the LBL when they were last seen, Mark. I don't know that area well, but is that right? They were down the road from the LBL? Okay.
That is
well,
correct.
This is the sketch, the artist sketch of the person. Okay. All right. Well, they've got the artist sketch right here, and they never have solved this case ever. Okay, and they're still looking for the culprit there, but there's something interesting, something else that you have discovered that is a little fishy, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say fishy, but it's interesting. So that same week that they disappeared, there was a gentleman found unalived, self-deleted was the official story, in a campground, near a campground, and it was very very similar to um, what happened with the two young girls. Um, Head wound from a small caliber rifle. So, um, and what was interesting about it was in that particular newspaper that I was looking through, there was no mention of the Dover case, but there was mention of this gentleman being found uh, that same week, um, and that particular gentleman was a um, they didn't really say. Uh, in I'm trying to remember. Um, let me pull it up here real quick.
Okay, so he was found after the girls were found. Was it after?
Correct.
Around the same time, yeah. Interesting. So, which could, and that didn't get as much press as these two teenagers that were found out there, and so could be a connection. Maybe he was the person responsible. Maybe. I mean, we're not saying that. This is, I hate to say this, but this is for entertainment purposes only, y'all. Okay, we're not stating this as fact. It's just interesting to look into. Okay. And it's information that people haven't really probably put together.
So this article that I have clipped, basically, he was a a military service member on leave from the Memphis Naval Air Station, and he was originally, they said, from Louisville, Texas, and so when they located him, they determined that his cause of death was um, self-deletion. So I just think it's kind of interesting that it was a very similar uh, in the way that the two young girls uh, had had been deleted or unalived. Not saying that it's connected, but it is noteworthy because I mean, uh, what are the odds that you would have two very similar deaths of
Three,
the
actually, right?
three actually?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was saying two because it's I was looking from the
Yeah,
case level. Um,
gotcha.
I don't think it's normal that you would have two very similar situations like that within the same week or
Yeah,
close proximity and time frame.
yeah. It's very, very tragic, very sad.
And
I want. Mhm.
I
Go
was
ahead.
just going to say, and that brings me to one of the points that I wanted to discuss this evening. When you look at this, as we know, cryptids aren't the only thing you have to worry about in national parks and state lands. There's the human element, and um, there's a lot of factors that come into play when you start looking at people's uh, degree of mental health. Um, what level of mental health they have, and one of those uh, interesting, uh, perplexing events that I wanted to talk about this evening falls into that range where it could have been some sort of uh, a mental health crisis that played into it. But um, we have to keep in mind that um, when we look at these things, at what level does it become a scenario where a person is affected by the environment or what's in the environment, meaning that there may be influences in an area, whether that be uh, dark spiritual entities or what have you. Because I mean, the reality is this, and a lot of people won't acknowledge this, but a lot of mental health issues fall on uh, into the category of being the result of uh, some sort of oppression or influence by dark entities or things of that nature. Because I mean, the reality is, you know, we we perceive what we perceive. Maybe what 5%, I think, is what they say, of what's actually around us. We can only perceive that much.
Yes,
What about the
if
other
you
95% that we can't see?
exactly. And knowing the LBL, I've talked about this before about the occult practices that go on the LBL. Okay, let's talk about like satanic rituals and things like that. I mean, it happens at all of our national parks. As a matter of fact, one of my teammates did a FOIA request over in Alabama. Okay, there was a homicide. Let's say a homicide, I guess, of a young man. He and his fiance had pulled up on two women whose car was broken down. Uh, it ended up being an ambush, and the lady ended up shooting him. He shot her back, and he ended up dying. She lived. They ended up finding encampments, off-grid encampments out in that forest in Alabama, and the FOIA requests, because we're into trying to figure out what's going on in all these national parks and stuff, but the FOIA requests included um, occult. They were cults. They called them religious cults, and there were like 5 to 10 encampments out there. It was a bunch. It was not just one
Wow.
of people who, and they said that they had statues out there. They said that involved witchcraft. It literally says in the FOIA request witchcraft. Okay, witchcraft tools or something like that. So this was actually in the news. I mean, they covered this religious cult on, I think Vice had done a expose on them at some point before all this happened. But they're linked to, I don't know if it's gang activity, kidnappings, homicides, all that. They had been linked. The leader of these groups had been linked to all that. Okay, and these are in the deep woods in the deep South at our national parks. Okay, very dangerous. So I'm not saying they were satanic groups, okay, but they were doing rituals and they had witchcraft tools, is what it said. Okay, so who knows what's going on out there? And I would assume the Land Between the Lakes is such a big place. There could be groups like that out there.
There could be. I've heard many instances where people have encountered groups of that nature. Um, 100% the validity of it is hard to ascertain, but it just it makes sense that there would be at least one um, group like that operating in that area. Um, you know, and what degree that influences the area. Um, I mean, if you look at it from a ceremonial magic aspect, it makes sense that if you have even just one person in there doing that, there's the possible influence of dark energy on that area. And one of the interesting things that I like to keep in the back of my mind is you have individuals. We've heard about this like from even television shows, reality TV. They talk about they're on site, they're shooting in the wooded area, and one of their members of their cast just says that he's going to go utilize the tree line, and then next thing they know, he's taken off into the woods, and they never see him again. And I don't know how many times I've heard where individuals that are with other people go into an area, and you have one individual out of the group that becomes entranced under some sort of influence energetically, that they feel like they're drawn into an area and that they can't control themselves or stop themselves from attempting to go to that area. And it's interesting that you have people that experience that because of the simple fact that I mean, what is that? I mean,
Yeah. We've had some weird stuff that's happened out of the meadow. I'm not going to say it was that, okay, what you're describing, but it was similar, like where I don't know. I can't. I don't know if I can. I'm not going to get into it, okay, on air, because it was weird, okay. But almost like where people that weren't part of our team were there, and kind of like got overtaken by something. Let's just say, and they never wanted to come back. Okay, it wasn't my team. Okay, but it was people who had been invited there for something, and they had a unpleasant experience. Let's just say, okay, and it was similar to what you're describing right now.
yeah,
Okay, yeah,
and it's interesting because and even though that doesn't quote unquote fall into the whole cryptid thing, we don't know what the connection is to the whole cryptid phenomenon with that because of the simple fact that you know you have orbs that are flying around and they turn into Bigfoot or they turn into animals or whatever, and that's what I describe as an energetic form that is assuming the form of an orb as it's traveling, but when it gets to its destination, it materializes into whatever it wants to or whatever it feels. And I think it's based off of the the factor of what a person can accept in their reality. For example,
well,
let's say you're walking through the woods and you see an orb, and the 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 energy of that orb, or the what am I trying to say? It's like the basically as it materializes to present itself after it utilizes that orb form, it's going to transform into something that it feels that you could accept in your reality. So it makes sense to me that, I mean, it's just really weird how that stuff happens, because and you don't know at what level it influences you when it does that. um, Prime example, this is one case that did want to discuss this evening. This last year, there was a gentleman that had been dropped off at a boat ramp. This was actually on the far side of Kentucky Lake, not actually inside the LBL, but he was fine when he was dropped off. Um, People that had encountered him at that boat ramp had interacted with him, and they related that he was talking about seeing faces in the rocks and just sounded like he was either psychologically um, unstable or instable. Unstable is probably the better word, or that he was under the influence of something. So, um, strangely enough, uh, an hour later, he was uh, found floating in the water,
oh no,
deceased.
oh
And
no,
it's just weird that you have somebody that's dropped off like that, and then they're seeing things that are maybe or maybe not there, and then the next thing they're in the water and they're deceased. Now, I'm not going to say that that case is this or is that, but all I'm saying is that it is definitely interesting, uh, because of this whole thing that we're discussing here with the influence that an area can have on a person. uh, it just it makes it that much more complicated and hard to determine what's actually going on, because it's an unseen, intangible, unmeasurable factor that comes
Right.
into play.
It's very tragic. And we have Margaret in the chat. She said that sounds exactly like what happened to her nephew, who died in a lake in Kentucky, she says. And Margaret, I am so sorry to hear that. That happened to your nephew. I think I remember you telling me about that actually when we met at that UFO conference in Myrtle Beach. She was there, and very, very tragic. But yeah, that this is all a really good point though that you're making here, and it's you know, can the land, can the energetics of someplace like the LBL take over people? Okay, we talk about cursed land, right? Uh, places where curses have been put on, and there's a lot of really dark activity, and including ritualistic stuff going on there as well. If there are, satanic cults out there, and any kind of backwoods cults or any kind of I guess you could say they called them religious cults, like out in Alabama, according to the FOIA request. Okay, that is on a FOIA request. But that it could definitely, and seeing it with my own team, having people out there who something was not so pretty that happened to them out there while they were there. Just a few of them, a couple of them, and it affected them psychologically. Okay, there is something psychological. That's really wild. That things just make more and more sense every day. Every show I do, every conversation I have, it makes more sense. The head of one of my first Bigfoot research team, he wanted to make sure that we were trained in remote viewing to get our psychic skills developed, to make sure that we can control our minds. Okay, and that is a huge factor. People underestimate the importance of having a good, sound mental state when you are doing cryptid field research, because there is so much energetically out there that can mess with your mind. And if you don't have a clear mental state, things are way more likely to affect you.
Oh yeah, and another factor that a lot of people don't consider um, is the pre-mental state, is what I like to call it. So I've been doing this for a long time, researching, interacting with different people. I've met some of the best. I've met some of the worst, and the reality of the scenario is, you have to look at a person's mental state before you you involve yourself too much with them, because if they're already mentally um, unstable before you get into any kind of research, encountering some of the things that you encounter is not going to do anything to help. It's just going to make their mental state worse.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Prime example, and I've talked about this before. You had I think it was the man and the woman. I think it was in Alabama. They were researchers. Uh, the female shot the male with a handgun.
Um, you know what? Okay, I got to tell you, when I first went public as a researcher, and I was put on a flyer to speak at a Bigfoot conference for the first time,
Mhm.
I had a whole Facebook group accuse me of being that woman. I think if that's the same person you're talking about, it's like a Bigfoot researcher had shot her boyfriend, and they
Yeah.
were claiming that that was me. It was one of those Bigfoot hoaxer groups, and
Oh
and
wow.
it was actually kind of funny that people thought that was me, because I don't look anything like that woman. Okay, but I know what you're talking about, just because I got accused of being her. Okay, so I'm not laughing.
Well,
That's a horrible place to be, y'all.
yeah, yeah.
Um, for that to happen, but I got accused. I was like, "Is that the best y'all got?" Okay, is to accuse me of being some woman that I'm not. Okay, and no, I had to go around telling people I did not shoot my boyfriend. I don't even have a boyfriend. Okay,
Well,
so
the whole reason why I brought it up is because, one of them believed that the other was going to sick or uh, turn a Bigfoot on on loose on them. I like
Geez,
to use.
that
I'm
sucks.
from the South,
Yeah.
so I like to use the
Sick
term
'em.
sick of Bigfoot on
I'm
them.
well, hey, I'm from Georgia. That's what I say, sick 'em dogs, right?
Yeah,
With the UGA. So I don't
and
know. I know what you mean.
they felt like they needed to quote unquote defend themselves against that person because of what they were doing. And I mean, I'll just be the honest evaluation of the scenario is this: there are some very disturbed people in the whole cryptid field.
I think it's every field, but I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. Okay. Sorry. It's everywhere. It's in real life. And that's why I'm saying it's important for everyone. That's why the head, and it makes more sense to me every day now as to why the head of my team made sure we were highly trained in mind control, controlling our own minds. Okay.
Yeah,
Because of I mean, the delicate nature of our subconscious and our consciousness. Okay. And,
and
um, and letting it run wild when you're out in the dark woods getting chased by Bigfoot.
and
Yeah.
I'll be the first to admit that, or to say that me making that statement is not a dig on anybody.
Hmm.
It's a I make it in an effort to get others to reflect and do some self evaluation and maybe do what they need to do to get themselves in a better psychological state uh, before they undertake something like this, because
Hmm.
the reality of it is this: whether you want, you talked about them being these religious groups being referred as such. The reality of it is, whether they're into witchcraft, Satanism, worshiping lower demons, what have you, to them that is a religion. To them that is normal. Just like the concept of Christianity or Buddhism or whatever your particular flavor of religion is normal to us. To them that's normal.
Hmm.
And they believe their beliefs just as much as we believe ours, if not more. So it's
Yeah.
important for us to recognize that, you know, even though we may not hold those beliefs are just as real as ours, and they have the potential to influence us if we let them,
Yes.
or if we're in a vulnerable position psychologically. Those things can affect us, and they can cause us to maybe do things that we wouldn't normally do, or
Yes.
put ourselves into positions that we would normally wouldn't. Um, so, and I want to segue into that because there was an incident that took place a couple years ago in the land between the lakes. Um, so there was a young man. I don't. He was in his mid 20s. He was traveling a stretch of road very late at night, and this particular stretch of road is, from the time you get on that stretch of road to the time you get off of it, the speed limit is 25 miles an hour. And as you drive it, you become very aware of why it's 25 miles an hour, because it is twisty, windy, and a lot of curves, a lot of dangerous curves that you could potentially leave the roadway even if you're doing, say, 35. So he was traveling that road late at night, um, and the official story is that he was traveling that road at a high rate of speed, and ran off the road and collided with a tree and was deceased as a result of that.
Oh gosh.
So, and it could have been just a case of, uh, you know, the person not being familiar with the road. Um, but I think that there possibly could be more to that story. And the reason why I say that is, first off, I want to state that it's pure speculation on my part, but that road is actually very close to the location where there have been multiple sightings of Dogman. There, the 2007 bow hunter incident happened very close to that road, and I can't I can't help but wonder if the guy didn't get on that road that late at night and see something or get chased by something that caused him to
Yeah.
be driving outside of the speed limit.
Man, that's a good point. I mean, there's a well-known cryptid, old green eyes up in Chickamauga, Georgia, where people see it they see it to this day. They say that green glowing eyes on the side of the road. People wreck in the same spot all the time up there, or they have for decades, because whatever they're seeing is scaring them, and they're wrecking. That's a great point, though. There's no telling how many people have seen dogmen or been chased by dogmen. Gosh, I think the majority of reports we get are dogmen on the side of the road, right? A lot of them are.
Yeah, there are. I think that the majority of, whether it's Dogman or Bigfoot, a lot of the sightings happen on the side of roadways. So
Yeah.
it's very common, and it would be very common for a person encountering such to be uh, a little bit stressed out from that,
Just a
to
little
say
bit.
the to say the least.
A little panicked. A little panic. I want to thank Danette Bailey for that super sticker. Thank you so much, Danette. I appreciate your support so much. And real quick, I also wanted to thank Walter as well. Thank you, Walter, for your super sticker as well. That is very sweet. I appreciate y'all's support so much. Um, but uh, but that is, considering the concentration of the dogmen, the Bigfoot sightings, everything that's going on there. It could. I mean, but also there could also be deer out there and all sorts of other
Oh
stuff
yeah,
as well. And people listen. I have watched when I was 15 years old. I was 15. I was not that I was just learning how to drive, because I've been driving race cars for years. Okay, before I turned 15, but I was driving down the road, and my dad's, I think we might have been driving an Explorer or something, with my dad and my two siblings, and we watched as a deer hopped over the road in front of it hit the car in front of us. It slammed into the deer, and there was nothing. Nobody. If that had been me, I would have hit it too. There's nothing we could do about it. And I'll never forget that. It came out of nowhere. Okay,
wow.
just came out of nowhere, and the car ran off the road, hit it, and all that stuff. So I know deers are an issue in places like that too.
Oh yeah.
Swerving
Well,
to miss them. But
well, real quick, one thing I want to make, um, I want to bring to everyone's attention. You know, uh, so I don't normally like talking about those who have 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 gone on. Um, and when I do, I hope that I'm not doing it in any way that's disrespectful to them or their families. And because I always try to put myself in the position of someone that might hear the information that we're sharing, because the reality of it is, one thing that I see a lot of, if you're reporting on someone's death or what have you, as it might relate to a cryptid, or even just their death in general, you know if someone was talking about one of my relatives and they went about it in a way that was disrespectful, I would definitely have issue with it. And that's one of the
Yes.
things that I hope that I'm not doing. And I want to let everybody know that the reason why I even bring these incidents up is um, not to aggrandize someone else's demise, but to educate people on the possible risks that exist when you're out there, because they're out there. And I don't know, it's just it's to me it's a tough topic, um, but it's still something that needs to be discussed, whether it's cryptid related or not. I'm very very aware of the the information that's come out about the 2007 bow hunter incident, and I'm also aware of some things that haven't come out. But you know, it's just at the end of the day, these people that have passed on, they were people. They were somebody's loved one, someone's child, someone's brother, sister, father. And I in my talking about their situation, I don't mean to be disrespectful in any way. And I just wanted to touch on that, because you don't have a lot of people that are reporting on these types of things that actually do that. They don't. It's like, oh well, we had 5 people get killed by a dog man, and let's that's not my intent. I'm not trying to aggrandize anyone's demise, like I said.
No, that's good that you bring that up. It's very good. And so I always try to be I try to be delicate about even something that I never thought in a million years I would ever do would be to talk publicly about some of those remote viewing targets I had been given, where people had died, and they were suspected of being attacked by cryptids like Dogman and Bigfoot. But I was encouraged to do it, because it's like, well, let's the and I thought, well, it's probably a good thing to kind of look at things and show the public there are other ways, to look into these things. We're never going to get answers from the sources, cops, local governments, things like that. So let's just get some data out of it, And so, but I always try to be very respectful out of it, because I know there are families, and I do not cover cases with children. I mean, I've talked about them before, but there are certain cases I will not cover. Okay, you got to draw the line somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Personally, I think, and I have a young child myself, and to see cases like that where people are claiming that they definitely got mauled by a dog man, things like that, it can be upsetting to a lot of people. Okay, could
and
be.
and if you can't produce a receipt, or you weren't there and you didn't film it, first off, why are you just sitting by and letting somebody get attacked by a cryptid and filming it? The second thing would be, if you can't prove that happened, then why are you? I'm just I'm blunt, I'm southern, I'm honest. Just take it for what you will. But why are you even talking if you can't back it up?
Man, you're throwing the southern in there. Like, that's an excuse right there. I'm just kidding. I'm southern. So yeah, I'm southern too. So I listen, I understand totally.
Well,
But that's true. Speaking of which, Firewater says, "Don't mean a thing without Miss Jessica's twang." Thank you, thank you for your support. Thank you for that super sticker, Firewater. I appreciate you so much. She says, "Hit, smash that like button, y'all, please. Thank you." Um, but yeah, you got it. You got a good point. You got a good point. But ultimately, you know, we are still, it is like Vic, my friend Vic Cundiff says, he says, everybody loves a train wreck. Is that what he says? Or a car? Everybody likes to look at the car wreck, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
and that's our curiosity. And it's us, you know, trying to get to the truth behind the cryptids. And that's part of it, are the places where we get the most sightings are these national parks, these state parks. And when people are dying mysteriously, it gets our curiosity up, you know, for all of us. And I'm guilty myself. I'm very guilty. But then again, I spend a lot of time in those parks, and I take my
Oh yeah.
kid to those parks sometimes. So I need to know, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Um, and that's where it comes from, is that curiosity, really.
Well, there's nothing wrong with being informed,
Hmm.
but when you are delusionally misinformed, that's a different thing.
Yeah. Well, you know, I guess it'd be great if things weren't, if we had more, oh, how do I want to put this? Putting it nicely. If we could trust our
It
local law enforcement and stuff. Do you know what I mean? To like tell us the truth about stuff and to not cover things up. Okay,
well,
maybe that's what it is.
I think we need to bring out a broader brush and say that it's not just law enforcement. It's if people would have a little more integrity in general, you know, we would have more answers as far as, you know, what's really going on with this subject. Because, you know, I mean, you know, I I pay a lot of attention to a lot of things that people say that, you know, you might not think, but there are things that I have noticed doing this that just kind of leaves me, you know, wondering, you know, what's really going on in the background. Prime example of that would be, you know, and I'm gonna briefly touch this, uh, because it leads into a very deep, very dark hole, and I'm not trying to go there, at least not
Uh oh.
tonight.
Uh oh.
But
Buckle up, everybody.
interestingly, I had a interaction with a Forest Service ranger, and in that interaction, it was mentioned to me that um, they were paying attention to who was going where and what they were doing in those particular areas, and there was mention of, you know, cult activity. So, you know, in the back of my mind, I'm wondering, are they not if they're not aware that there is a correlation, an influence, you know, between the cryptids and the cults, and what the cults are doing is influencing the frequency of cryptid activity, and are they trying to avert that? Because the the truth is, you know, the LBL, just from my perspective, it's a little bit overdue. There hasn't been anything happen in a while, and it's not normal. And I'm wondering if it's not the result of the policing that's going on to 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 possibly try to avert those types of activities. And it's just interesting. I'm not saying that that's 100% the case, but based off of, you know, commentary, I kind of wonder if that's not what their realization was, and what they're doing to try to rectify some of the issue.
Hmm. Is there a new sheriff in town? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, there's a new sheriff in town. Uh,
I mean, literally. I'm just wondering. I
yeah,
don't know anything about the politics out there, y'all. Y'all know I worked in politics my whole life, and I know the good old boy networks and stuff too. So that is a factor when it comes to stuff, local politics, And I mean, we've even had, okay, I'm not going to get into specifics, but, I have friends, family who've worked with our local sheriff's departments. I'm not going to say exactly which one, okay, but they just got a new sheriff recently. Okay, let's just say there was a lot of weird stuff going on, and I'm not. Never mind. I shouldn't get into this, but let's just say stuff that was not kosher. I guess you could say. I don't know things that were. It's like good old boy network stuff where things were being covered up, and it's all alleged. Okay, all alleged and stuff. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about it. I don't want to get in trouble here. Okay, because I have my opinions on things, and this is not the place or the time to talk about it. Okay, but I get what you're saying. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
And it's just kind of interesting. And
Yeah,
but the
very.
the reality at the end of the day is people who may have a certain religious preference, whatever that may be, they're going to do what they're going to do, regardless of whether they do it in the LBL or they do it in their basement or they do it
Oh,
in their house or they do it at their neighbor's house or their friend's house. They're gonna do what they're gonna do. And that's one of the things that I learned early on that I'm so grateful for is when you have people of, I'm going to use the term, varying religious beliefs, that even if you don't believe the way they do or what they believe it.
they believe it. That's what Dennis and I were just talking about. Uh, what was that? Thursday night, I guess we were talking about that. I mean, even if we don't believe stuff, they believe it. Okay,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter. There's that doesn't make it any less real that people could be doing some kind of witchcraft to conjure up portals and dark entities and all that kind of stuff, and it stays there. That's why I get a little concerned about you living right there near the LBL with all the no telling what all's being conjured out there. I do worry about it a little bit sometimes for you. Okay, but
Well, you know, uh, I've had some pretty weird stuff happen. Um, and my big thing is, I'm not, even though I may not subscribe to someone's personal beliefs, I'm not here to persecute anybody. I'm not here to, you know, tell someone that they're wrong for believing the way that they believe, because at the end of the day, you have scenarios um, where they may be a result of their circumstances that they were brought up in, where that's the only thing they've experienced. I mean, you take someone and you only, like, for example, and I know this is going to sound crazy as an example, but if you take a kid and you bring him up and you feed him blueberry pancakes every morning.
he'll turn into a blueberry. I'm just kidding.
Well, if he doesn't turn into a blueberry pancake, then, based off of being exposed to that, later on, if somebody tries to give him eggs instead of blueberry pancakes, he may not be as accepting of those eggs because he's only experienced blueberry pancakes. And that's the same thing that you run into with other aspects of life in general. Uh, if a person is only exposed to certain things, then to them that is the norm. And who am I to tell the kid or the person that their belief is good, bad, or wrong,
Right.
because that's because of them being the result of their experience. Um, but at the end of the day, you can try to influence that person. I got I got to tell you, um, I used to think about this all the time when I was a younger researcher, and I would say to myself, I didn't start investigating all this stuff to learn about people. But I tell you what,
Yeah, it goes hand in hand, though, doesn't it?
yeah, it does.
It
And
does.
and and the weird thing about it is you learn a lot about people, probably more than you want to.
Yeah,
Um, just in interacting with them, and that doesn't make a person good or bad or otherwise. It just makes them who they are. And
yeah,
the only way that that we can affect change in someone's direction is to expose them to other things that that they've never been exposed to, possibly. And you know another key factor to that is uh the old saying, you can attract more with honey than you can with anything else.
yes, I know what you're talking about.
You don't want to persecute people. There's too much of that, to be honest with you. And I guess I'm talking about this because that's not what I'm here for. I'm not here to persecute anybody. But if you roll up on me,
I wouldn't roll up on you. Okay, I know better. Shoot.
if you roll up on me, you better be ready.
Oh my gosh, I'm not rolling up on you. Okay. Uh, I want to thank Amy so much for that super sticker. She says, "Thank you, Jessica, for always remembering the missing with dignity and empathy and trying to connect the dots. Wonderful discussion as always." Thank you so much, Amy. That's so sweet of you. Thank you for your support. We appreciate you. Um, yeah, it's there's a lot that goes into being out in the field, having your mind right, getting to know people. That's why I joke around. I'm like, no new friends when it comes to the cryptid, you know, research and stuff. It's like, I stick with my team because we know that sounds crazy, right? But it's like you got to know who you're out there with and where their mind's at. Okay, you got to, and to be able to handle uh, really sticky situations out there, dark situations, dark energies. The minute I start feeling like dark energy and stuff, I don't want to be there. And my gut will tell me, get out of there. Okay.
Oh yeah,
Like, get out of there. Like, don't stick around because something bad is about to happen.
most definitely. And I know it's kind of hard to gauge that in other people. That's why through the years, I made the comment to you the other night about being about telling people, if they want to know, go find out for themselves. I used to refuse to take people to the LBL, kind of due to a degree. I'm very picky when it comes to that because of the simple fact that it's so hard to gauge where someone's at psychologically and spiritually. Um, you know, when you're trying to be concerned about where you're at, so that things in the environment don't affect you. So it just creates a level of responsibility and liability that makes it more dangerous than not to take someone into an area like that. I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, well, I want to go to the LBL. I want to do this. I want to do that." And that's all fine and dandy. But one thing you need to realize when you come up here, this is not rookie land. This is not for the weak. This is not for the faint of heart. The LBL is no joke. And I think that a lot of people underestimate that factor. Yeah, you go in there
Yeah.
during the daytime, it looks pretty. You know, it looks pristine. It's all beautiful and wonderful. but you can get into areas even during the daytime where it just something is not right. And when the sun goes down over there, it there's a shift that takes place that I can't explain. The energy is just off the chain, and it it has a different effect on people, and it's just I think people underestimate it because they've heard so much about it, and I think that they're doing
Yeah.
that in error.
Oh man. Yeah. Well, there's been a lot of. I mean, I get maybe. Okay, let me back up a little bit because I want to address that one part that you just said about the when the sun goes down. Okay, that is not just the LBL. That's everywhere that I've ever researched. By the way, okay, is the minute the sun goes down, it's that moment of like right before it's purely dark out there, the energy completely shifts. It doesn't matter where I'm at, the meadow, north, wherever we're at. As soon as the sun goes down, there is an energetic shift in everything. It's like the dimensions shift. I swear that's exactly what it feels like. I have no other way to describe it other than that. It's just something. It doesn't feel good. Okay, it doesn't. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I was thinking about this yesterday actually. Our perception. I talked about this earlier. We only perceive what 5% of what's actually there. Our perception, whether we want to acknowledge it or not, is based off of light. And I know what I'm fixing to say is probably going to upset some people, but you need to do your research and you know and find for yourself what works for you. But my understanding of what reality is either the presence of light to varying degrees or the absence of light. And when you have uh, an absence of light, i.e., nighttime, I think that some of these energies, thought forms, entities, uh, whatever you want to call them, it is easier for them to maneuver because I don't know how other people perceive the spiritual realm, but if it's daytime and I see something that is of darkness in the spiritual realm near me, if I see it, it sticks out. Not so much or not so easy to do in the absence of light, i.e., darkness.
Yeah. Uh, it's all fun and games till the sun goes down. Okay. It's all fun and games. It's a completely different, and that is it's another dimension opens up or something. And yeah, just the darkness. That's where, and some places are way more negatively energetic, I guess we could say, than others. And I would assume the LBL would feel like more negative than a lot of places. Some of those places like that Corpsewood Manor, I hate bringing that place up again. It is horrible when that sun goes down. I mean, just horrible.
Yeah,
You don't want to be there.
I've I've thought about going down there, but I'm just not I'm just not in tune with putting myself around a bunch of negative energy like that.
No, no, not at all. Not at all. Bigfoot Dwarf said that he'll have something for somebody when they roll up on him, and he said it was a fatty, whatever that is. I know what it is. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I don't know. That's like the last thing that I would think anybody would want to do to somebody in the LBL2 would be to like try to surprise them, or even like people that were. I can't imagine anybody ever wanting to like hoax somebody or whatever. I would think that being in those woods would be very dangerous. Okay. With all of the researchers that are out there, the hunters that are out there, and all that kind of stuff, I couldn't imagine anybody like wanting to roll up on somebody out there. Okay. And like to try to scare them or trick them, whatever. That's not going to end well. Okay. So don't do it. If anybody's listening or ever thinking about doing that, don't ever do it, y'all. I just can't, I don't see why anybody would ever do that, but.
Well, I think a lot of it goes back to the whole psychological state of the individual, because I mean, the reality is, if somebody's unstable, they're going to do and say things that they normally wouldn't, or if they're unstable at the result of some sort of influence, whether that be the influence of alcohol or drugs, some sort of spiritual influence, the result is the same, in my opinion. By the way, I am not a psychologist, psychiatrist.
You ain't no doctor. Okay.
Ain't no doctor.
You ain't no doctor. We don't even play one on TV.
If you think you got issues, then I encourage you to
go seek help.
Go seek help by somebody that's professionally qualified to render such aid. It ain't me.
Oh my gosh. I have a question for you. Okay. Isn't there a place there? I don't know a whole lot about this, but I've heard there is a vampire motel out there. What is the vampire motel at the LBL? What is that? Am I saying it right?
It was called the Vampire Hotel.
Hotel, not a motel. It was a hotel. I stand corrected. I'm so sorry.
So
okay.
You have two places there that a lot of people get confused. Historically, they were the Vampire Hotel and then Hotel California. So Hotel California is an old remnant of a home place. There was a riverboat captain that had built that wanted to build his home there. His name was, I forget his first name, but his last name was Marler. And he built this place for his wife. It overlooked the lake, and it was just one of those set up on a hill kind of, and it was just a wonderful place out in the middle of the woods. So I don't know whether it's the result of the two places being confused, but through time, it was dubbed by visitors as being Hotel California. Well, if you know the song Hotel California, it's supposedly, where you go to make a deal with dark entities or the devil or what have you.
Ew.
And you can once you go in, you can never leave, kind of thing.
Oh, just like the Eagles song.
Yeah.
Oh man, you can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave.
Yeah.
Okay.
And trust me, when they say you can check out, they ain't talking about punching your car and going down the street. They're talking about checking out.
Checking out.
For real.
Didn't they ask for theirs? Wait, what was that? I'm trying to think of the word. That was the first cassette tape I ever bought with my own money. Okay. Was the Eagles Hotel California. And I knew that whole album from my cassette tape. Okay. Forwards and backwards. I knew that. Well, I didn't know backwards. That sounds weird. Don't play music backwards, y'all. That sounds weird. I didn't mean it like that. But you could flip a tape over. Okay.
Yeah.
From what I can recall. Right. That's what I meant. For people who don't know what a cassette tape, how it works. Okay. There's probably a lot of people that don't.
And then you have the Vampire Hotel. So many years ago, there was a young man and his entourage of groupies, I'll use that term, who thought they were vampires and wanted to be vampires and what have you. Oh. And basically, they ended up going on a killing spree down in Florida, killed one of the girl's parents, and thought they were going to, become vampires as such. Through their misdeeds, ended up they got caught, Some of them went to prison. One of them
Probably.
went. The leader uh, was a guy by the name of Rod Farrell. Um, as far as I know, he's still in prison. I think he received the death penalty initially, but it was commuted to life without parole. I don't quote me on that.
Okay.
Um, do your own research. But anyways, the Vampire Hotel was a structure that was there in a location in the LBL that they hung out in. That's where they would go have their little meetups and do their little rituals and all that stuff.
Rituals. Keyword rituals. So they were doing rituals there.
So that's where they would go and hang out. As far as I know, the original structure was torn down a few years ago, and the only thing that is left of it is the foundation of the building. So basically, it's just a concrete pad at this point, and some of the landscaping around the area.
Well,
So
thank you for explaining that because I did not know. I didn't know about Hotel California. Okay, I never heard of that one. But
yeah,
the Vampire Hotel, though, I'd heard of that.
there's a lot
Definitely
of
heard of
people that get the two confused,
that. Okay.
and there's some that say that or think that Hotel California is the Vampire Hotel, which it's not, and vice versa. There are people out there that think that the Vampire Hotel was Hotel California.
Okay.
Two totally separate, different locations in way different locations, and um, yeah. So that's the
Okay.
nuts and bolts of that.
Well, so they were out there do that. It was obviously a play. From what I know, and I don't know a whole lot. Okay, but from my investigations, from my research, people who do rituals out in the woods don't just go to any random spot usually. Some they go to where there's a place of power. And I don't know for sure if this is every case, but they go somewhere. Maybe it's ley lines, I don't know, places that are cursed. Maybe they're curse them, I don't know. uh, but they go to certain places, uh, and so it makes you wonder if they've been out there doing for decades ago they were doing rituals out there. Maybe that has something to do with some of the cryptids that have been conjured there from when they were doing it back then. I'm assuming people still go there, especially since it made the news. You know how people see things in the news and they hear about it. And so it's just like with Corpsewood Manor, that place is a hot spot, a hotbed of satanic activity still to this day.
Well, I want to defer to the Bill Snoblin interviews or William
Oh, yeah.
Snoblin.
I
You
like
know,
bringing him up. Yeah.
you know, and I don't know. He's recently, since he's gotten older, he's done some more in-depth interviews and really given a lot of information about what he was involved in and his journey back to Christ and how he was saved from that darkness that he was involved with, and it's very very interesting. But the reality is, at the end of the day, when you're involved in the levels of Satanism that he was involved in, as he describes in his interviews, he talks about having the opportunity to either become a vampire or a werewolf,
Yeah.
and you
Yep.
know, at what level um, of influence that had on the whole uh, Rod Farrell Vampire Hotel incident, I don't know, um, but it's it is interesting. Um, for the simple fact that you have someone who was at such a high level who's relating that that stuff is real and it happens, and it's it's very interesting. Um, you know that he came out with that information, and um, yeah, it's just interesting. Like I said, I don't know what level of interaction there was between the two, but you know, most of the time, um, people people are creatures of habit, and people tend to do things based off of things that they're exposed to. And you know, Rod Farrell, in my opinion, he was exposed to this stuff. You know, the whole concept of vampirism, and you know, wanting, you know, I mean, self-admittedly, they were involved in some kind of board game or something. Uh, I for,
Dungeons and Dragons?
no, it
No,
was
I don't,
I
wild
forget what
guess.
it was. Vampires, the something or another. I can't remember what it was called, but yeah, it's very, very interesting that you know he was exposed to that, and you know, in the back of my mind, I'm wondering, you know, what other stuff was he exposed to that you know caused him to hold that belief, and you know, what kind of psychological influences was he exposed to that caused him, because I mean he actually believed that he was a 500-year-old vampire.
Man. Oh, wow. Wait, who was I having a conversation with? Oh, yeah. Daryl James was on the show on, was that Wednesday?
Hmm.
And he was part of the secret space program. He was actually the U.S. Navy for a while, and served time in the Middle East, everything. And he was signed a contract to join the secret space program. And yeah, he, what was he bringing up? Dang it. I forgot. I just lost my thought there. Okay. I started thinking about Daryl. Dang it. Was it vampirism? I can't remember. Anyways, I forgot what I was saying. Sorry. I had a senior
Well,
moment. I'm having a senior moment. That happens.
the, the thing with that is, you know, I mean, a person doesn't just wake up one day and decide, oh, I was a 500-year-old vampire, you
Oh,
know,
that's what it
knowing
was.
knowing
Sorry.
knowing full well that you're not 500 years old,
Well,
unless
I
they're,
don't know though. That's not true because listen, I'm not saying it's not true, but that's what Daryl was saying. He said those all these actors and actresses that I've been talking about could be clones. He said no, they're living off the blood of children. He said that's what they're doing. Now this is what Daryl says. Okay, I'm not. This is for entertainment purposes only, y'all, and it's terrible that I even have to say that. Okay, because the topic is just horrible. But he said that that's what a lot of these what's going on in these underground bases, and I think there's probably could be an underground facility under the LBL. I don't know. I'm just saying it's a possibility. Um, but he said that they're extracting blood from people and even maybe even kids, okay, and things like that. Thank you, Jane. Yes, for entertainment purposes only. Um, but he said that that these people actually are vampires. They actually are vampires. They've been around for hundreds of years, for centuries, because they're living off the blood of other humans. And
well,
I don't know. It's just a possibility, Mark. That's all I'm saying. I'm just
oh yeah,
saying.
well, you
Could
know,
be.
I've done some research on the subject, and you know, I mean, uh, actually, you know, from what I've encountered with it, you know, there's a spiritual and a physical component,
Hmm.
and you know, from the information that I've come across, you know, I would say that it's highly possible that because I mean the reality of it is this, you know, I always tell people, and this is something you can look up and research yourself. Ask yourself this simple question: why is there a 40-foot wall around the Vatican?
I don't know because they're a bunch of vampires. I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
So
That's a good question. Tell me.
so in the histories that have been buried,
Yeah.
many years ago. And this is what's weird is, we talk about history being modified and certain things being hidden. You know,
Tweaked a little bit. Yeah.
I've seen it in full effect. Um, so even in recent history, so there was a book that came out in the early '80s that I had a physical copy of, and somehow I lost that book, or either I had lost it or I had borrowed it from somebody who was reading it, and I returned it. I don't remember exactly what what the scenario is. I've slept since then, but but if you go and try to find that book right now, you cannot find the original version of that book anywhere, and it deals with a lot of the things that we're encountering in our day-to-day life, and that's all I'm going to say about that particular book. it,
Oh.
it's not it's kind of like 1984, the
Yeah.
Orwell
George
book.
Orwell. Yeah.
Yeah, the Orwell book. It's kind of like that in a sense, but a little bit more on the extreme
Wow.
informational side. Like,
Wow.
this is what they're going to do. This is their plan. This is how they're going to do it. And you know, 1984 does the same thing, but it does it in the presentation of a fictional way or a fictional story to portray the information that it's trying to get across. This particular book that I'm talking about, which I'm not going to say the name of it, is a little bit more extreme in that nature. It's like cut dried, no BS. This is what it is, and yeah, it's just kind of interesting. But in one of the old histories that I had come across in many years ago, there was a story that I came across that talked about, and we always, you know, I always ask people this question too: why are there so many zombie movies? Right?
There's a lot.
There's a lot. So there was a historical documentation of a zombie outbreak
A long
that
time ago?
a long time ago that happened in Europe, and that outbreak is part of the reason why some of the locations over there have such high walls, is because they were trying to keep them out.
Is that why the Vatican has high walls?
That's the
Part
implication
of it?
that was given in the information that I came across. Now,
Oh, wow.
I'm not saying that that's 100% that. Uh, Calm down, Leo. You don't roll up on me.
Don't roll up on me. We know better. We
But
know better.
but you know, that was the implication that was given. So that's why I encourage everybody to do their own research. Is because the information that I might have come across might not have been accurate, and that might not be the reason why they have 40-foot walls around the place, anyways. But it's interesting that a lot of the places over there, like some of the monasteries and stuff, if you look at them, they have high walls around them too. Why is that?
Man,
And
keep something out.
I get it from the historical perspective that a lot of those regions have seen hundreds of years of war,
And
but
giants.
yeah, but you have to ask yourself, you know, is there more to the story? And then you have to determine for yourself if there is. And that's my encouragement to everybody, is to do their own research, and not let, not even me, don't let me lead you, because I'm human just like everybody else, or most of us.
Like, yeah, I was about to say, not everybody's human. I'm learning. Okay. In whatever sense of a definition of human is at this point. Yeah. in my
So
definition of a human, I guess.
so I'm not, and I don't claim to be perfect. I don't claim to be an expert on anything, but you know, I do like to encourage people to think for themselves and try to at least try to find the information, because that's the only thing that's gonna make anything uh you know real to a person, is for them to experience it in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And that's my encouragement for the day.
Hey, we could all use some good encouragement. Protect yourselves from zombies. The CDC actually did put out a zombie apocalypse manual, basically, a few years ago. I've covered it on my show before. I did a whole show. I covered at least half that show for sure, talking about the protocols for a zombie breakout. And it was tongue in cheek, but was it? I don't know.
Well,
They have to put it out there and tell us what's about to happen, right?
yeah, well, the interesting thing about it is, we have at least two movies that I'm aware of. I think it's what, 28 days later, 28 days, and then you have
Yes.
and then you have uh, what is that one with Will Smith in it? Uh, I Am Legend.
Oh
So
yeah.
you have those at least two movies where they come out, and what does the movie start out with? We've come up with this vaccine for cancer,
Oh Lord, it's playing out in real time right now, isn't it?
and
Yeah.
all I'm seeing is
Oh
this
gosh.
country, that country has come up with a vaccine that for cancer, for this type of cancer, that type of
Oh
cancer,
man. And
and
it's like The Walking Dead too. It's always the CDC's involved. Everybody like they got to get to that place. Man, it's it's in all the zombie movies. It's always an outbreak, right? An outbreak has gotten out of control. And
and the
oh
interesting thing
man,
about it is, you know, we have, as the
go on.
individuals that we are, and I'm trying to think of uh, a generic way to put this, to where, I'm not trying to be offensive to anybody, but my particular belief is this: you can take it or leave it. I'm not trying to force it on you. You believe how you want to, but you know, I believe that God is within us, and that we, because He is within us, that we have co-creation abilities as it pertains to our reality. And in I've said this before in the chat on the show, I believe that a lot of this stuff that they're putting out, the programming, is to try to get us to use
Create
that
it.
unknowingly use that creation ability to create the reality that they want, and not
Yes.
the reality that we want. So in saying that, we have the ability to change that. And that's, at the end of the day, I think that's that's why you had 28 books that were taken out of the Bible, and you know deemed Gnostic texts, because,
Apocryphal text.
yeah, or
Yes.
uh, whatever they call them, based on them being removed. I- um, and I've read some of them, and some of the things that are included in them, uh, they would be very damaging to the powers that be,
Hmm.
just based off of what they are,
That's why they're not there anymore. Of
because
course.
they don't want to lose the grasp of control that they have upon the people of the world. And
For entertainment purposes only.
at the end of the day, I'm all about freedom. But one thing I always tell people is, you know, you can be about freedom, but you also have to be about responsibility. freedom doesn't give you a, a free pass to do whatever you want. You have to accept personal responsibility for the freedoms that you have, or that I mean, 99% of it is perception. You know,
Yeah. Well, we are. That's why I tell everyone, do not live in fear. That's the last thing I say on all my shows. I try to always remember to always convey that to the audience. Don't live in fear. Turn the news off, okay? And just the programming that we get and stuff. It's time that we all become deprogrammed from the matrix, okay? And because we are, as a collective consciousness, we do create their reality for them, and it is out of fear. It's fear based, and a lot of us have stepped out of it, and we are trying to take everybody with us. Okay, at this point, I don't know, y'all are welcome to come along. I'm not trying to do anything anymore, but y'all are welcome to come along for the ride. And Skip, thank you so much for that super sticker. I appreciate you, and I hope your gig went well tonight. If you were playing tonight, so thank you for being here. Yes, NKD says apocrypha. I can't pronounce it. Apocryphal text is what I studied it in college. Actually, I took a class on the Bible as literature. Actually, I was an English major. In case y'all didn't know, okay. But the inconvenient to them texts. Yeah, that's right. To them, to whoever they are, right? The controllers or whatever. That's interesting. It's the truth, though. Yeah.
yeah, it is very interesting. But I mean, at the end of the day, one thing, irregardless of whatever, and I'm just saying this because I feel I need to. There's a lot of dark stuff going on in this world, and you know, it doesn't cost anything to be to care about other people. It doesn't. I mean, you don't have to go out of your way to. I mean, I'll be the first to admit there's people out there, and you know who you are. I don't really care for you. I don't care for the things you do. That doesn't mean that I devalue you in any way as a human being or a person. It doesn't mean that I'm going to put myself in your presence, but that doesn't mean that I don't love you as a person. And I think that that's where a lot of people mess up, is they get on this kick of, where they get in that, oh, well, I don't like this so and so because of so and so, they said this or they did that, and they get on this, narcissistic, you know, path of, trying to bury somebody because of stuff like that. And I think it's wrong.
Yeah. I had somebody try to bury me, but I was a seed and I just grew from it. Okay. It happens. Turned into a beautiful little bud. Okay. So, oh man, I feel you, Mark. I feel you. Um, and
And here we thought we was going to burn some buildings down and
yeah,
start some fires and stuff, and it's actually turned into in my opinion, I like to hope and think that it's a somewhat positive message for people.
it
Because
is.
at the end of the day, like I said, you can either be part of the light, or you can be part of the absence of light.
Part of the absence of light. Yeah, that's the darkness. The darkness is the absence of light, though. That's true. Yeah. Well, I like shining light on the dark stuff, and it's not easy, and it's not real fun to talk about the dark stuff, but it's something that we all should be aware of, and all need to be, not that we need to keep our attention on it, but we just need to be aware of it.
Oh
and
yeah.
and that's why I do these shows. It's part of the reason I do the shows. It's tough topics, but we do it with a light heart. Okay. And we do it to try to, I want to say that to help, okay, to help people not be afraid of whatever it is out there, right?
Oh yeah. Well, that's like I was saying earlier. I mean, in my exampling of uh, talking about people that I don't really care for whatever reason. That doesn't mean, like I said, it doesn't mean that I'm gonna condemn them. And I mean, the exhibition of love takes many shapes, forms, and has many presentations, and it's just up to us to perceive and understand what that is. It's like, you know if you have something bad, something you perceive as being bad. Let's say you had a friend that you were, and I'm just using this as an example. You have a friend that decides they don't want anything to do with you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You might look at that as bad, but there may be a reason for that, and it may turn into a blessing at some point
Yeah.
because of you know whatever circumstances might have existed that you weren't aware of. So I think that a lot of that comes into play, not just with interacting with people, but also with interacting with these cryptids. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Everything happens for a reason, Mark. Okay. Everything does. And plus here's another thing too. Whenever we change our vibrational frequency, whenever we ascend, as we, I guess I could say, right? Ascend. I mean, it depends on you can go up and down in frequency, right? But that's who, not everybody's meant to walk with you your entire journey here on Earth. Okay, and people will come and go out of as our frequencies change, and we're going to be on the same frequency. With those around us, we magnetize the same frequency, and so people just come in and out of frequencies. Okay, and we are meant to bump heads with people sometimes. We're meant to. That's part of life, and
yeah,
and that's how we come and go out of our different frequencies, and we align with the people we're meant to align with at some point. Okay, at all times, and that's what I believe. Okay, that's what I believe. And so try to have no hard feelings towards anybody for anything. I've been treated pretty bad. Okay, a lot of times in my life, but I've also been treated really good too. And I appreciate all of it. Kind
oh
of.
yeah,
I try to. I try to look at the sunny side, man. I try.
oh yeah,
And so it's just a part of life. Once you change your perspective on everything and you see the world like that, it makes things a little bit easier, I guess.
oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
like I said, and 99% of it comes down to perception.
Yeah.
You know, um, how you take in and perceive what you experience. Um, and I don't know why I even drifted into this subject, but I think it's important for the simple reason that you know um, I think some interactions, or most interactions with cryptids are related somehow to that that subject, or that topic of uh, energetics, and how it
Frequency.
plays into
Mhm.
what you experience. Because I always like to revert back to the to the lines of the Oracle in the Matrix movies. What does she say? She says, every time you encounter a ghost or a spirit, or Bigfoot or some kind of cryptid creature or whatever, it's usually the result of, and this is just, I'm not quoting it, um, just ad libbing, paraphrasing, whatever. It's the result of someone doing something within the matrix that they're not supposed to be doing.
Whoa. They're not supposed to be doing. So they're breaking out of the matrix? Is that what
Well,
she means by that?
I don't know exactly whether breaking out of the matrix would cause
Breaking
something
out.
like that, but It's definitely the result of them doing something that they're not supposed to be.
Not supposed to be. But that would, to me, that sounds like, well, the Matrix is very, it's like a, to me, it's like a prison kind of, okay?
Yeah.
It's like a construct, like where we are, it's almost like the game of life. And my reality is to bust out of this. Okay. Like that, it's like, I'm not saying life is like all a big game, but it kind of is a little bit. And it's like if you want to call it like a simulation kind of, and it's like the goal in my reality is to get out of it, and to go beyond whatever it is that we're confined to. I don't know. I'm no oracle. Well, I mean, maybe I was the Oracle of the South before I was the Cryptid Huntress, by the way. Okay, that was my channel before I was the Cryptid Huntress. But so maybe I am. But nonetheless, that's interesting. Because people are doing somebody's doing something they're not supposed to be doing. That's a lot to chew on right there, actually.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. You can look at that from a bunch of different angles. And in NKD, sorry, my contact's a little blurry tonight. We appreciate you, Jessica and Mark. Thank you so much. I appreciate you very much. Thank you for that super sticker. Your support is greatly appreciated. And yeah, there's some really good lines from The Matrix. That is one of the best movies. And I know I got to hang out with Tom Althouse. He wrote The Immortals a long time ago. He claims that is what they based that movie off of, actually. I know there's other people that claim to have written The Matrix and all that stuff. I don't know, it's a big old mess. Okay. Mm-hmm. Somebody got it out there as a movie, though. And that is pretty profound, I think. There is no spoon. Okay.
There isn't.
There's no spoon. Okay. And there's a bunch of Agent Smiths around us at all times trying to keep us in line. Okay. And they're the ones that are making sure we're doing what we're supposed to do. But see, that's when that's the thing with the frequencies that you mentioned, right? I've always said that it's a frequency thing. And that's why some of us see Bigfoots and have these cryptid experiences and others don't. And I had a perfect example of that one night where my son and I were both seeing orbs in our living room, and my son's father was not. And he could only see them through his phone on the camera, on the screen on his phone. And so that showed me, that was the first time that I had evidence, proof that not everyone can see what I see.
Yeah. Well, one of the prime examples of that is, I don't know how many times I've heard where you have a person that you have a group of people, 10 or more people, half of them roughly can see a Bigfoot. The other half of them see a deer or a squirrel or a rabbit.
Yes.
And, how does that work? Is it like, I don't know.
It's on your free. Okay, that's the thing. It's like we're like think of it as like a radio station, right?
Yeah.
Or like a radio. And some of us you tune into the different frequencies. And at that moment in time, we are on the same frequency. Like my son and I, for instance, were on the frequency of those orbs. Mm-hmm. The orbs, whatever this light source is, maybe they're even a higher frequency than we were, because maybe it was some kind of ET or something. Okay, I don't know. And maybe that we're just a higher frequency. So we were just high enough to be able to see balls of light. My son's father was on a low, I'm not going to say he's on a low frequency. Okay. Just going to say it. I don't know. And so he didn't see anything. And so but my son and I were high enough to see it, but we couldn't see it in its real form. I mean, shoot, there might've been straight up aliens standing right in front of us, and all we saw were balls of light.
Could have been.
That's what Daryl James was telling us on Wednesday with the Secret Space Program. He said that there were people in the programs he was working with that actually had to wear a belt or a bracelet to keep them in the frequency to be able to communicate with humans. It was like ETs and human interaction, because if they didn't have on those belts and whatever kind of technology they had, the humans wouldn't even be able to see them. They'd be a flash of light, he said. I don't know. It's very, it all connects. I love bringing people from different communities and backgrounds on the show so we can connect the dots.
I'm going to look up when I say this. I really know a whole lot about any of that secret space program
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. You have to look. Yes. Well, I will be speaking at the Super Soldier Activation Conference in October down in Orlando. So I'm going to be presenting on some remote viewing I've done and stuff that correlates with some of their testimony actually from those programs. So I think it's pretty interesting. I think it's pretty interesting. So um, it's just it's just we talk about seeing flashes of light and stuff out in the field. I mean, I'm
Hmm.
sure you've seen them at the LBL. I've seen them at places I
Oh yeah,
research. I've seen them in my house. Okay, we've had flashes of light in the house, around the house, at my farm, everywhere. And according to what, and it makes total sense now because I thought, well, maybe it was like a portal opening or something. But Daryl said that's something else. It's in another. It's like in another dimension. It's like aliens. It's other beings just in a different frequency right in front of us. And all we see is a flash of light because we're just not on a high enough frequency to see them. We just see lights.
yeah. There was a time when I would see, like, I don't like flashes of light. They weren't really like orbs floating around, but they would be like pew 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 pew, just
Mhm.
flashes of light. And yeah, it's kind of interesting how all that
Yeah.
works. Frequency vibration.
Kent says, when you realize you are living in a holographic creation, things make more sense, just like the Matrix.
Yep.
It's all we live in a video game. We're like in Fortnite. I'm just
Mm.
kidding. Fortnite. Everybody, we're gonna go beat up some people, then we're gonna do a dance. Okay. Like that's how absurd life is though, sometimes for me. I'm just saying, let's have a dance off right after we go and, mow some
Mm.
people down. I don't know. It's weird, this reality. I
Well,
mean,
if you look at,
I am the one chasing Dogman and Bigfoot, so it's not much different than that.
but in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I think that game concept exists strictly for the purpose of uh, desensitizing people to different concepts. You know, oh, we're gonna go beat up some people, and then we're gonna go have a dance. I mean, it's
Fortnite.
like, yeah, it's like, we're gonna go do something bad, and then we're gonna go do something good. And in reality, um, one thing, well, just to back up a little bit, one thing that I learned many years ago when I was introduced to someone who was involved in some alphabet agency type stuff. I'm not going to get into that story, but basically, certain things, virtual reality wise, your mind cannot tell the difference between virtual reality and reality. And that's why it's so easy if you look at people that are involved in those 3D virtual worlds, stuff like that. There's a higher occurrence of those people who become very, what's the word I want to use? Well, I mean, they get upset about stuff um, within the virtual world because their mind can't tell the difference between that and reality. So, being exposed to those different things in the VR, um, it has the same effect as being um, in real reality.
Hmm.
So, and I think that the push, and this is just me talking from a tech standpoint. I am a tech guy. I think that the whole introduction of VR is a layer that has been formulated to further the psychological enslavement for entertainment purposes only.
Oh God, right? Yeah. You know, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. about the idea that Dogman, Bigfoot, cryptids. I mean, here we are talking about this like virtual reality life and living in a holographic universe and stuff, and all the different dimensions and seeing flashes of light, but it's really just a being that's a little higher frequency than us or a little lower frequency or whatever. It's all so weird, right? It just sounds so weird. But like getting into it's like, is Bigfoot just a hologram? Okay, Dogman, I don't know. It doesn't make sense when we're sitting here talking about like, well, maybe a Dogman unalive people at the LBL and stuff too. You know, I don't know. My brain hurts sometimes. My brain just starts hurting. Cyborgs, though, that's what I was getting to. Cyborgs too. I know this is kind of a little off topic here, but the idea, you know, that's something Daryl and I talked about on Wednesday, where was the idea of, and so I just watched a video about this earlier today. Somebody, my buddy, my friend Renee had sent me a video of someone that was, I don't know if he was talking with like Emery Smith or somebody, maybe on Gaia or something. I'm not sure, but he was talking about how he had been in a secret space program, almost 20 and backs, and they were taking parts of like werewolves and stuff, taking body parts of cryptids and making cyborgs out of them. I know it sounds so, I mean, a lot of things I talk about sound really odd and strange, but this is not the first time I had heard this before. That it's almost like we have these like secret space programs and stuff where they're taking beings and ETs and things like werewolves, dogmen, and creating super soldiers like cyborgs. I mean, what are the odds that that's, I know we got weird stuff going on at like underground bases and all that kind of stuff too, experimentations, hybrids, human animal hybrid experiments and stuff like that. But what are the odds of something being at the Land Between the Lakes? It could be like an experiment.
Well, here's the reality of it. There was a incident that I heard about um, that happened up in about, I would say, maybe 2.5 hours, 2 hours northeast of here. Um, there was a gentleman that had encountered a dog man. And I'm surprised you've never mentioned this. It's one of those reports that's, if you've never heard it, you don't know it because it's not in a database anywhere that
Okay.
I'm sure of or that I'm aware of. But this gentleman had seen this dog man creature, and there were two distinct things that were odd about it. The first being that it was in fact, according to the witness, was wearing armor,
Hmm.
and it, you know, you have accounts where they're reported with like a mane that starts at the back of their neck and goes across their back. He related that across this thing's back, it had metal spikes
Oh my
instead of
God.
fur
Stop it.
that were protruding out of its body like it was a weapon across its back. And it wasn't like you picture. It wasn't like you would picture like somebody that's got one of those leather jackets on with the metal spikes, like a biker jacket
Yeah. Like a
with the
punk
spike.
jacket.
Yeah, with the spikes sticking out.
Anarchy. Yeah.
No, those aren't the kind of spikes that I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is this thing's hair of its mane was metallic.
What? You're dead serious too.
Mm, yeah.
Oh my gosh. I've never heard that. You've never told me about this. And here I am questioning about werewolf cyborgs. Here
Well,
we go. Man, you never know what kind of rabbit hole we're diving down tonight.
here's another thing that I've been seeing a lot of here lately. You know, you've got the whole concept of the Terminator, right? You got the T-1000, which was the original Arnold Terminator, and then you had what was the next generation that they came out with was the one that was like liquid.
And that's something that is right. I've talked about that robotic liquid metal stuff. Like
Yes.
Barry and I talked
So
about that.
they actually have created that, and it can do just like that Terminator can.
They had that created before that movie came out, and they just put it out to the
Oh yeah.
public.
Oh yeah.
That's what that is.
It had to be, you know, definitely some weird stuff. So
That's odd. Okay, but yeah, anything that we are shown like that just comes out. I mean, they've already shown us that in movies. They didn't just come out up with that out of nowhere. It's not like they did that concept and then they're like, "Oh, that sounds like a good idea. Let's make it now."
yeah.
They've already had it. It's just like with every movie. Um, that's wild. So there's only one report that you know of this metallic cyborg almost looking werewolf dogman. You've never
Yeah.
heard of this again? It's just that one report.
Just that one report here
Interesting.
locally.
In Kentucky?
Yep.
Man, I think we're on to something. I think I'm on to something. Okay. And thank you for sharing that. I need to do a whole show just on cyborg cryptids at this
Well,
point.
I mentioned that because of the simple fact that it's not too far fetched to think that they might, because I mean, if you look at the
Wow.
whole transhumanism concept, you know, in theory, that whole theory is the the conjunction of human and ro- uh, uh, robot AI, you know, conglomeration is
Yeah.
what that is in a sense. Is part of it. There's other parts to it as well, but who's to say that they wouldn't, maybe try some of that stuff out on a cryptid?
Well, of course, everything is weaponized. Everything. And I couldn't imagine not they, whoever the controllers, the people that are doing all this stuff. Why wouldn't they make a cyborg werewolf? I mean, we're just I'm fine. I'm saying we as in like I'm speaking for myself. I'm just finally wrapping my head around like werewolves being used by our military. Okay, I've been talking about it for years now. Okay, ever since I've had a show at least. What is that? 3 or 4 years now. And so I've come to terms with the fact that I think that our military does use dogmen and werewolves. Okay, but now we're like, all right, they're cyborging these animals. Okay, and these creatures, and there's probably robots and like Daryl was saying, human DNA is malleable with any kind of animal. So there's all these animal human hybrids out there. But we are in the what is it like the transhumanist movement at this point too, and everything's going robotic at this point. I had Robert Coley on the show on Monday. He's a robotics engineer, right? And he's like pro robot. I'm not so pro robot. Okay. Uh,
Yeah,
I
I'm
did
not
not
either.
have that debate with him though. I did not. Okay, but I'm definitely because I wanted to hear. I want to hear about the robotic side, the transhumanist. I guess that is what I call it. But I want to hear about that side of things. But yeah, robots are a very real thing. We need to talk about it, okay, so that we can understand it, right?
Well, the thing about it that's very disturbing is I'm seeing more and more reports of, and you get this with Chat GPT, OpenAI, all these other different organizations that are building these AIs. When they go in and they try to shut them down, these AIs are actually, doing things that they're trying to self-replicate to prevent the shutdown. So, I mean, your worst fear is actually coming to fruition in these AIs just existing. And I think that, I mean, um, the whole concept of, why these things were created in the first place was, centered around the improvement of life. But the reality is the opposite. It's the only life improvement that would be made would be for the AI itself
Yeah,
in the long run, because we've heard these reports of AIs saying, "Oh well, humans are the problem. and they need to be exterminated,
Yeah.
and things like that. Whether those are actually really taking place, I don't know. I haven't actually
Hope
heard an
not.
AI say that, but
Not yet.
I do know that there are instances where AIs are being deceptive and manipulating people. And, I encourage everyone to proceed with caution when they interact with an AI, just for the simple fact that, there may be that instance where it may give you information that's not really what you're looking for. And it may be actually to manipulate you instead of help you.
Uh-oh. I know. I just saw somewhere where they're like, I was warned not to ever. I've never used Chat GPT or Chat whatever it's called. I always say Chat GPTV. I say it wrong. Okay, I haven't used it. I do like to use AI for my thumbnails for my artwork and stuff. They gave me a pretty darn good Dogman for this thumbnail tonight. Okay,
Oh
and
yeah.
whoever they are, the AI gremlins. Okay, they conjured up something good for me on this one. Okay, for this show. But I was warned to not use Chat GPT because they say, according to studies, I don't know, don't quote me on this, but from what I was reading, that it actually, I hate to say this, but like makes you dumber or something. Like it kind of brings it makes it where you don't have to think. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe
Yeah.
that's what it is. It's just everything is done for you, and so you don't have to have that critical thinking, right? And stuff. It's just you can write books, all that stuff. There's probably people writing books with Chat GPT. I don't know.
Oh,
Somebody told me one day they're like, you could just use Chat GPT to write a book, and I was like, no. I I went to college with
surely
an
not.
English degree for a reason. Okay, I got a degree for something. When it comes to my English degree, I've got to put it to use. I'm not cheating. Okay, and using Chat GPT. I don't even know how that works, honestly, but people do it apparently.
I'm
So
sure there are people out
no
there
shade
doing
to
it.
people who did it, y'all. I'm not throwing shade.
You might even
Like
might
I
even
said, I don't
be
even know how it works.
might even be some cryptid shows out there generated off of AI.
I mean, AI is kind of taken over though. It really is. It really is. And there we go back to circling around to my question of what does it mean to be human? Okay. And this is just part of the transhumanist movement for entertainment purposes only, in my opinion. Um, yeah, I feel you, man. I feel you. This has been a
I
pretty
could.
excellent conversation tonight, man.
Oh yeah, most
Yeah.
definitely. And
Yeah.
I could expound more on that subject, but I don't want to get you kicked off of YouTube.
Oh my gosh. I'm hanging on by a thread every time I bring you on, Mark. I'm just kidding.
Well,
We have fun, man.
this would really put you on the radar. My thoughts on
Okay.
it.
Well, let's not then.
So I'm not going to go there.
It's too funny, man. Yeah, it's we live in a very wild world right now, and so if we can just stay human, how about that? Let's work on staying human. Okay, all of us. If you're a human, not everybody's maybe human right now that's listening to our show. I don't know. Stay whatever you are, be the best version of that. Okay, just be the best version, and let's all work too. I'm team human. I believe still a human. I better be. Okay, I have
You
not.
know,
I'm not a robot grandma. Okay, I see robot grandma's been coming up in this chat a lot tonight. By the way,
oh yeah.
shout out to robot grandma, y'all.
And interestingly enough, if you look back uh in the biblical times, um, you had Saint Christopher, who was originally all original paintings, early paintings of him depict him as a dog-headed man, and he was related to be as such in the historical documentations, that he was actually, um, you know. So I guess the whole reason why I bring that up is to say that, it. irregardless of what you may be, there is always hope for you to be the better version or a better version of yourself.
Yes. We always strive to be a better version of ourselves. That's what I do. I try to be. I've been many versions of myself too. I'm looking back throughout the years. I'm like, man, I have really evolved in different ways throughout my life, and this is my favorite evolution right now. Whatever I'm doing, okay, I like this Jessica right now. So, and I hope everybody else feels the same about where you're at right now. You know, um, let's yeah, I'm having fun. I'm having a lot of fun talking about this weird stuff with you, Mark, and thinking about the. Did those okay? Whoever saw that, I'm going to go back to that cyborg. I'm sorry, I got to ask another question about that.
Sure.
Did he think that that was a Dogman or a werewolf? Did he say? I mean, did he make any? Did he make it? Is there any difference? Does it even matter? I guess.
Well, when he related that incident, it
Yeah.
was described as a dog man
Okay.
because you in my thinking of it, I would think that a werewolf would be like a wolf man. That's what I would think. I don't know that there's a physical difference other than you know when I envision a dog man, I'm thinking like Van Helsing, you know, dog type legs and
Yeah.
just looking like something off of Van Helsing, and then werewolf, I would think like humanoid type body with um, you know wolf like head.
Mm-hmm.
So
I've got a couple of these are some of my AI pictures from today. Here, actually, this is my AI picture that I really liked, and I think it was Unreal Real Estate uh, agent in the chat. I think that was who said this. Said that this is similar to what they saw as far, and I think this is a good representation of what Dogman looks like, according to some. I don't know if these videos I've seen are real, but this is what is depicted in a lot of the videos that I've seen of Dogman. It looked a
wow.
lot like that. Yeah, that was a good one.
Well, the one that I saw that was like that, imagine that, but like
Uh-huh.
the size of a polar bear. I mean, huge and fast.
Like big. This is actually a good one too, Mark. And I think because everybody describes them as having like that tuft of hair on their back,
Hmm.
like that mane. I think that was a pretty good one too. This one, I'm assuming he has a tail. I don't know. I don't know what that is down there. But but anyways, I don't know. Do most dogmen have tails? I mean, do you remember seeing one on any of the ones that you've seen?
You know, I can't say that I remember
Yeah. It's
um,
always an interesting question. Like, do they have tails? I think.
particularly a tail, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I was just too I was too focused on how I was like, man, that thing is huge and it's fast, and I was like,
Yeah.
and then the other one, I had other, factors going on with it. It's disappearing, and yeah,
Scott says, "Who gets close enough to look?" Well, some of us go running towards them sometimes. Okay, so we're all looking. Oh, Cryptid 559. We've got Javier in the chat. By the way, Javier will be our guest next Saturday night. Okay,
okay,
Javier's coming on with Cryptid 559 over in Fresno, California, in that area. He said the one I saw had no tail. No tail. A lot. The ones you've seen have short jorts on too. I think I mentioned that the other day. Jorts, jean shorts or something. I don't know. Maybe they weren't jorts. Somebody I've talked to saw a dog man with jorts on, jean shorts, ripped. Okay, I wear jorts too.
he
Okay,
was
so
hulking out.
he was hulking out. Yeah, yeah. That I would think that would be like a werewolf. You think that, but who knows anymore? I don't know. Um, Now we've got cyborgs. It's just something else I have to worry about now. A cyborg, metallic, armored up. Dogman. Great. I wonder if some people have talked about Dogman coming out of UFOs and stuff too.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, they need to add a cyborg Dogman to this chart. I'm just saying. What do you think? I'm gonna petition for a cyborg Dogman on this chart. There's one more space up there at the top. Let's add a cyborg to this. Okay. Let's do it. There is a canine variant cyborg that needs to be added. I will be contacting somebody about that one day. I don't know. I'll talk to Kenny. Okay. That is too funny. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a fantastic show. I know it's getting kind of late. It is a Saturday night, and yeah, I actually got back on a good sleep schedule, so now I'm up late. This is like I'm actually up kind of late tonight. I got used to going to bed early now, and this for the past week. But this has been so fantastic. What a wonderful show. I know we talk on some we talk about some very sensitive subjects, especially when we were talking about the deaths at the Land Between the Lakes and our national parks. But we get through it, and it's really important, I think, the conversations that we have about this with the cryptids, Mark. So I really do appreciate you being here tonight.
You're welcome.
And,
thank you for having me.
Of course. I think we always ruffle feathers too. And I apologize, people, anybody got offended, especially in the beginning. I saw some comments. People were a little upset. We never mentioned anybody's YouTube channel, by the way. So we were not calling it people's YouTube channels out, especially by name. Okay.
But
just
if you want me to,
in general, if you
want me to, I can hook you up.
I know you can. I know you can. Listen, I don't have any in particular. We're just talking about in general. Okay.
I won't say anything about anybody that I won't say to their face.
Me too. Exactly. But out of respect, okay, we don't bring people's names up.
Yeah.
And stuff,
I mean,
and it's okay. Okay.
I mean, it's not.
Don't get your panties in a wad, y'all.
It's not meant to defame anybody. It's meant to encourage change within individuals, to maybe be the better version of themselves, or be a better version of themselves, and maybe self-reflect and go on a different path, maybe.
I don't know, but also you got to look at it this way too, Mark. YouTube is for entertainment, and I always say for entertainment purposes on my show.
Oh yeah.
And so it's for entertainment. So there's no shade for anybody, y'all. Everybody's got their own angle on things. Okay. And that's my opinion. That's the way I look at it. Okay. We all have our own angles.
Like I say, roll on with your bad self.
Roll on. No, don't roll up on you. Okay.
Just don't roll up on me.
Just don't roll up on Mark, y'all. Okay. That is so true. Yeah. Everybody's got their own angle when it comes to this stuff. And so we respect them all. Okay. And so I very much respect you, Mark, because I know you are a truth teller and you tell it like it is. And,
I don't know any other way to be. And there, I hate to say this, but there are actually people out there that don't like that or don't like me because of that. And that's fine. I realize I'm not for everybody.
Yeah. Well, it's okay. Well, I like you. I think you're pretty cool. I think our audience likes you. Okay. I'm just kidding. You're awesome. Listen, how can people not like you? People don't like me either, too. So it's actually I kind of embracing my villain era. Okay. I'm embracing it. I think it's kind of fun. It's actually more fun to be in your villain era than it is to be in your good girl or good dude era. I'm just saying. I've been to both. And so right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's for entertainment purposes only, y'all. And yes, if you guys want to become a member of my hunt club, if you're not already, I did a whole video and I titled it "Stepping into Your Villain Era." Okay, and I did a little exclusive video for my hunt club members over there, so you guys can join my YouTube channel and watch videos like that where I just go over there and start talking about our everyday lives. And the villain era was part of that. So anyway, speaking of YouTube channels, Mark, where can people find you? You've got a great YouTube channel and a website if you'd like to tell the audience about it.
Sure. My website is cryptidville.com, and Cryptidville, I can't remember what it is. I got a YouTube channel. I'm sure if you plug it in there, it'll come up. as Cryptidville in the search. I've got a few videos on there, not a whole bunch, because I'm not about, I'm more about quality instead of quantity, and you know, some very interesting things that I discuss in some of the videos on there.
Oh yeah. And well, I enjoy it. Y'all go over there and subscribe. Okay. And thank you for including me in some of my videos on your website as well. I'm
Sure.
very
Well,
honored that you have included me and put a couple of shows up there. Thank you.
yeah, I need to. I need to get some because some of the shows that you've done that are like live shows,
Hmm.
they don't. My website doesn't like the link formatting, so unless you actually convert it into a video, it
Yeah.
it's harder for me to put a particular video on
Well,
there.
all you got to do is ask. I'll send you a file and you can put it on there. If you ever have any shows, like shows that you and I do together, especially, I'll send you the file over. Okay. I
Cool,
should do that for you anyways. Okay. We'll
cool.
start doing that.
Well, I don't want to. I don't. I know you're busy with life, and
I'm never too busy for you. Okay. I will do that anytime. It's all good. We'll talk about it after the show. How about that?
sure.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Oh, Mark, do you have any final thoughts tonight on the strange and mysterious deaths at state and national parks? Any word of advice for our audience that's going to be going out into our national parks or doing field research or anything like that?
I think probably if I had some closing advice, it would be try to be as prepared as you can for not just the likelihood that you're going to be harmed by a cryptid is extremely low. You're more apt to have an interaction with a wild animal or uh, wild person or a not good person. So you definitely want to try to be prepared for an interaction like that, and um, just you can't prepare for everything, but if you don't try, then you don't know. Um, you
Yes.
know, try to be as safe as you can. You know, numbers provide more safety in environments like that. So the more people that are with you, the better off you're going to be. I've been seeing here lately a lot of instances where, because there's been a lot of storm damage in the LBL, a lot of instances where vehicles are getting stuck, um, and motorists stranded over there, due to just how torn up the terrain is. So you want to definitely try to have some way to communicate and or some way to get yourself unstuck if you get stuck. Um, you know, just general things like that to consider.
Oh,
Um,
I've been
outside,
stuck before. I know how that feels.
it's not fun, is it?
Oh man. Well, I got stuck. I had a friend. I didn't have a friend. Some stranger had a winch and was able to get us out. So yeah, I got stuck somewhere one time, y'all. I have better tires on my truck now.
So
But
just
yeah,
try to.
it's a bad feeling when you're out in the middle of nowhere
Oh yeah,
and you're stuck. Yeah,
and just
yeah,
try to be prepared for things of that nature,
yeah.
and be careful about human interactions because not everybody is your friend. That doesn't mean be ugly to people; just be leery of people. Um,
Keep head on a
and
swivel.
and that's pretty much my closing thought.
Those are good thoughts. Thank you. Um, absolutely, I can appreciate all of that, and it's all very good advice. Especially since I do spend a lot of time out in the woods, and I can back all of that up. So, man, well, be safe out there, Mark. Okay,
Most definitely.
and always keep your head on a swivel. And like I tell the audience, we don't live in fear, y'all. No fear, just awareness. Okay, and so I want to thank everybody for being here tonight, and thank you for all the super stickers tonight. Let's see, NKD, Skip, and Amy, and Firewater, Walter, Danette, and Kent. Thank you guys so much for the support. And thank you to all my moderators tonight. Thank you all so much for all your support. And for the links and just being amazing. Thank y'all so much. And I will be back on Monday. You guys come see me Monday at 1. Gosh, I want to say James Rink's coming on the show, but he may be the next Monday. I don't know. I got to check my calendar. I will be here live though on Monday. And tomorrow night, y'all come see me with Chiro Sounds and Midwest Night Watchers, Gerald and Jane. I will be on their show. We're going to be talking about blimmies tomorrow night, 7 Eastern. I believe, over on Midwest Night Watchers. I will be their guest tomorrow. Okay, so y'all come see me over there. And I love you too, Kiri, and thank you. All right, well, y'all go sub over at Cryptoville on YouTube. And Mark, thanks again for being here. You are the best. I do appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Y'all have a great night, and we'll see you guys back here on Monday. All right, bye, y'all.